Patrick, December 2023 will be the 10th birthday for the OHDSI community. We're right around the holiday season. I thought this would be a great time to bring some festive spirits together and look back at where OHDSI was and how it got to where we are now and where we're going. For those who may not know the original story, can you just take us back 10 years and let us know how OHDSI got started?
Yeah, it's amazing that we are now at this point of having to look back a full 10 years, but it was actually December 16th, 2013, that the OHDSI Central Coordinating Center was officially established through Columbia University's Department of Biomedical Informatics. And that actually came about because the Observational Medical Outcomes Partnership, which was a public-private partnership with the FDA, had finished its project. And several of the investigators involved in that project recognized that while that project was completed, there was a real need to try to establish a community where open science could continue to evolve the science of real-world evidence. And so when George Ripsack took the charge to establish the Central Coordinating Center within OHDSI, we were ready to go. And it was only the 1 month later in January of 2014 that we actually held our first OHDSI face-to-face meeting where dozens of individuals came to New York City. And we still proudly use that picture of everybody standing out on the terrace looking over the New York City backdrop as the kickoff to our community in earnest.
Now you fast forward 10 years later and it's over 3,800 volunteers from over, I believe, 83 countries around the world. And, bringing everybody together or into the community is one thing, but then getting them to collaborate on a shared mission of generating real world evidence that can promote better healthcare, that's another. And there's been a number of ways we've done it, but, now we're a couple months removed from a global symposium. I'm guessing in December of 2013, you never imagined 450 people coming together, sharing research that is part of this shared mission.
Yeah, and back then, we knew that we wanted to figure out ways to collaborate and to connect folks who are interested in questions about data standards and methods research and open source development and clinical applications. But I don't think any of us had a particular vision of how we were going to do that or how fast it would grow. What's been exciting is to see that what started as something where we wondered whether people would be interested is now expanded to hold these global symposium with hundreds of individuals coming together, to see symposiums held every year now in Europe and across the Asia Pacific region, to see study-a-thon events where smaller pockets of people are coming together to hold very concerted effort to do studies, and to see various other collaborative activities taking place where researchers from any walk of life, any geography, any stakeholder group, any discipline are really coming together towards a common cause, which has been really exciting to watch that growth and that continued expansion of our community.
Those events where people can come together have been so positive, but of course for a couple of years there was really impossible. We had a European symposium planned for March of 2020, and of course that's when the pandemic hit and we had to shift, and we had this incredible virtual study-a-thon where 330 people registered from across 30 different countries and really provided the foundation of OHDSI's research on COVID moving forward. But it also was the beginning of this new way of connecting virtual. And when you have a global community, that ability to allow people to collaborate, daily, weekly, monthly, whatever, is really critical. So, that was the first time I remember us trying to figure out MS Teams and how to make it all happen. But, you look 3 years or so later, it really has enabled a lot of amazing research to happen, amazing collaborations. And from the studies to now we're looking at, 30 work groups right now. And that's really a key way to have people with specific passion or specific focuses be able to come together and connect and keep driving this work forward. And, we've had work groups that have been together for 7-8 years, and we've had work groups that have been together for maybe 2-3 months, and it's exciting to see it continue to progress. I know this is going to be a big part of our December 12th community call, so I don't want to do it all right now. But I thought it might be fun to have a little game of then and now, and look back at specific, core collaborative activities within Odyssey, kind of where they were back in the beginning and where they are now. And I think, let's start with the area of data standards.
Yeah, absolutely. So then we were working on the OMOP Common Data Model version 4. There was a decent handful of organizations that had adopted that data standard and were trying to use it with a particular focus on safety surveillance and burgeoning into the comparative effectiveness space. Now we see that the OMOP CDM version 5.4 has got tremendous adoption with over 530 databases in 40 countries, representing a multitude of analytic use cases across characterization, estimation, and prediction, and people using it not just for clinical research, but also operations and other aspects of healthcare. Also seeing the vocabulary expand from a resource to help mapping data to now something that's got over 140 vocabularies and has been downloaded over 100,000 times by the community.
How about the area of methods research?
Yeah, looking back 10 years ago, a lot of the primary focus of the OMOP experiment was to determine whether or not it was feasible to do drug safety surveillance using EHR data. And some of the methods research we were trying to pioneer back then was to determine strategies for identifying and evaluating bias. It was at 10 years ago, then it was controversial, the idea that we introduced of using negative controls as a mechanism to quantify bias. And now 10 years later, we're seeing FDA and EMA write guidance and hold meetings about how to establish regulatory policies that are implementing those ideas that were quite different innovations way back then.
Obviously, a big part of the community is open source tools.
Yeah, back then when we started Odyssey, one of the first tools we built was Achilles. I remember sitting in Martine's guest room, hacking code with him to write some of the back-end work. And I remember Frank DeFalco presenting at an Academy Health meeting showing the first interface of Achilles. And the idea there was, wouldn't it be nice if there was an open source tool to profile a database? And to think now that we have an entire robust ecosystem in Hades, as well as tools like Atlas that are enabling our entire community to use it, that have now been downloaded over 500,000 times within CRAN. It's amazing to see how much appetite there is for the community for standardized analytics that can enable and propel evidence generation.
And finally, the area of clinical applications, clinical impact.
Yeah, back then, 10 years ago, we had a hypothesis that we thought network studies would be a good way to learn, but hadn't actually proven that hypothesis beyond some isolated examples. One of our first network studies was a study that George Ripsack led, where we looked at treatment pathways. And what we learned was by exploring different patterns across the world, across North America and Europe and Asia, we could actually gain insights that would be impossible to do by ourselves. And now looking now, we've now seen studies that we've done within our community that have directly impacted and shaped regulatory policy, directly impacting clinical guidelines, reaching a point where evidence is trusted and is being cited in high impact clinical journals. And yet I actually think that in the area of clinical applications, this is an area where I'm even more excited about what we're going to see in the next 10 years as we continue to see greater adoption of real world evidence and reliable evidence that our community can generate.
Really has been an incredible journey. We use the hashtag join the journey for a reason, but it really has been an incredible 10 years. And I know we're going to look back on it December 12th, both 10 years and also really what Odyssey has accomplished over the last 12 months. One of our 3 community calls in December. We'll look at some recent publications that have come out on December 5th. And then always when we talk about being festive and in the holiday spirit, December 19th, our final call of the year, we always have a good time with that one, a look back, a final goodbye to what's been an exciting 2023. So a lot to look forward to, a lot to be proud of over the last 10 years, and excited to look back and celebrate. Thanks for joining, Patrick.
Thanks, Craig. Science!